Hi everyone, it's William with the Grand Duke Dmitri Diary and Correspondence Series. I'm in the apartment today at Schatzalp. It's not a day for sitting out on the balcony. It's a little on the cold side. I don't mind the rain because the balconies are covered, but yeah, it's a little chilly. And also the hotel is opening tomorrow, so things are all a bustle, and I'm trying to just do my work in the apartment and stay out from underfoot for the moment. Probably be actually less busy tomorrow when the first guests come than today when, there's last minute preparations to be done. Yeah, anyway, I'm going to try today to fit in entries from both 1939 and 1915. We'll see how that goes. The results are kind of in on whether you prefer the 1939 material or the 1915 material. And so far, it seems like the 1939 material is slightly more interesting to you, and particularly this letter written to Maria by Grunwald, yeah, Konstantin Konstantinovich Grunwald, sorry. So we'll have the second part of that, and also see if we can't do a 1915 diary entry. And I think, those may not seem terribly interesting at the moment because Dmitri is in an out-of-the-way place and only seeing a few people. So, but that is going to change. He is going to start making trips to Moscow and then go back to Petrograd. So, yeah, bear with those because they're not going to be so much just stuck in Usovo. All right, so here we go with the 1939, the second part of this letter of the 3rd of June to Maria. And Konstantin de Grunwald was in Paris. Dmitri had not yet gone to Schatzalp. So, yeah, here we go. What's our recap? Our recap, the first paragraph of the letter. Well, he calls her his snow queen or his snow princess, and he chides her a bit for not having replied to a letter of his and says that Dmitri was also dissatisfied that he wasn't getting letters. And yeah, he says that he's seen a photo of her with this Italian actress Isa Miranda in Hollywood. Yeah, so that's about it. Our cast for this second and third paragraph of the letters are nobody. Okay, here we go. What you tell me, madam, about your life over the course of the past few months has, unfortunately, transformed my joy into sadness and concern. I am, more than ever, convinced that this state of affairs cannot last long. If I was permitted to give some conscientious advice on this subject, I would say Your Imperial Highness should return to Paris as soon as possible before the onset of the holidays, and do so with a loudly proclaimed, if insincere, statement of no longer wishing to live in the United States. I need to explain. You will never get it out of people's heads, madam, that if you have the opportunity to take long-distance journeys, it means your situation is far from critical. It will then not occur to anyone to worry about the difficulties you might experience in the United States. One sees that you are very well known and respected in New York City. It is said that you have resources there that no one questions, and that's how things will remain indefinitely. So this is just a little short bit. And Maria had money problems. And so I guess well, I think he wants her to come back to Europe anyway, but I guess what Grunwald is getting at is that people don't think she has money problems because she seems to be doing very well in New York City. She had a best-selling book some years before, her first volume of memoirs. She had a job as a consultant, I think, with Bergdorf Goodman. I don't know if she still had it in 1939, but everybody got the impression that she was doing very well, and yet she was writing both Dmitri and Grunwald, saying, you know, apparently I'm at my last gasp here, money-wise. So Grunwald is saying, look, come back to Europe and stop giving this impression that you're living the good life in the United States and have no concerns whatsoever. I don't know how that would help in terms of who does Grunwald, well, maybe I do know who Grunwald has in mind when he implies that if she comes back to Europe, to France, and people see what her real situation is, that there are a couple of people who might actually help her, one of whom being her brother, Dmitri, and another being her son, Leonard. So yeah, that's about all for this little one. I think next time we're going to delve into some very harsh criticism of Dmitri. I think I tend to take Grunwald with a grain of salt, but you know, we'll talk about that tomorrow in terms of what specifically he says about Dmitri and whether it rings true or not. Yeah, I think I might have said that this was a short letter when we first started, but it is not. It is a 10-page letter, and much of it is devoted to Dmitri. I believe I just sort of skimmed it. And I sometimes get in trouble with that because I skim things and then I make comments based on my skimming and find out that they weren't correct. Okay, anyway, let's move on to 1915. Our recap for 1915. Well, Dmitri had found out about Anna Verubova's accident, about her being in a bad train accident and being seriously injured. He'd been told about it. Somebody sent him a telegraph. He doesn't tell us who, a telegram. And his response was to send a telegram to Anna Verubova saying, oh, is this true? So kind of funny. He had also gotten a telegram from Missy, so they were obviously corresponding, and she was sending him this telegram to tell him that she was sending him a letter. Probably the letter was overdue, so she wanted to let him know. And his sort of mentor is the wrong word, companion. I mean, a man who had been a mentor to him, a hired mentor when he was an adolescent cook, had gone to Moscow for an overnight stay. So our cast today, beyond the three men who are with Dmitri there in Usovo and the priest from Usovo, well, we have more mention of Verubova, not surprisingly, and a mention of Alexandra, the empress, whom Dmitri refers to as Alex. So when you hear the word Alex, you'll know who that is. And we have Irina Dolgorukova. Yeah, we'll see what he has to say about her and who she was. Okay, so we're up to the 4th/17th of January, 4th Julian, 17th Gregorian calendar. It's Usovo, -2 degrees with mild wind and snow. So the weather's gotten a little better from the day before. Okay, I got up around 10 o'clock. I wanted to go to church, but I overslept. I always feel horrible in the morning. My head is pounding and I feel phenomenally weak. Where it comes from, I don't know. After morning coffee, I went out to the hill with Borya. We tried to increase the steepness, but it didn't work. Cook returned at 1:30, and then we had lunch. The Usovo priest was also there. Until 5 o'clock tea, we stayed outside the whole time. Then I went to my room and read. I received a dispatch from Alex. Anna Virubova has a broken leg and cheekbone. Apparently, my telegram created a big sensation. Dinner was at 8 o'clock. I'm just making a note of something. Forgive me. All right. Dinner was at 8 o'clock, after which Borya, cook, and I went outside again and stayed there until 11 o'clock, when we returned and had tea. Then we parted ways. I wrote a long letter to Irina Dolgorukhova. I don't know how she'll take it. I fear I wrote too much. But let the chips fall where they may. After I finished, I did some more reading. My feeling of weakness drags on. Okay, so what I made a note of here was just that he says that Alex sent him, that the Empress sent him a dispatch instead of saying she sent him a telegram. So, yeah, she must have sent it through someone. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe she had more to say than just, she would have in a telegraph. But it's interesting that she's the one. He sent this telegram to Anna Virubova asking if the accident had really happened. And Alex is the one who replies. All right, but I'm getting ahead of myself with that. You remember, if you watch the videos for his 1906, 1907 diary entries, that he was very much prone to headaches when he was an adolescent. So we saw his life between when he was when he was 14 until he was 16. And this was a big problem for him. He had these headaches, and he's still having them. And it's something that he doesn't complain about when he is an adult, and that he doesn't, if I recall correctly, he doesn't complain about when he's at Chateau. So, maybe it was something that he outgrew. Okay, weakness. Where does the weakness come from? That's his question. And this, again, whenever Dmitri was under nervous strain, he had this sense of weakness. And particularly after the Rasputin assassination, when he was sent to the Persian front, that was one of his biggest complaints, weakness. I feel weak. I feel weak. And so that, I think, is probably stress. Stress, depression, probably psychosomatic, because if he's asking this question, where does it come from? Then he hasn't received any medical answer. No doctor has told him, this is why you feel weak, and you should do a rest cure. You should stay in bed, because he's outside 5 hours a day since he's been telling us what he's been doing in Usovo. He's been staying outside all day long, and not just strolling, but doing strenuous things. So, apparently this was what they wanted him to be doing, and not to be resting. So it seems like, whoever was overseeing his medical care also believed that the weakness was not something caused by a physical problem. Okay, so I don't know if any of you, probably more of you than not, have seen these pictures of these snow hills that they would make, that Nicholas and his children would make, and then pour water over them so that they would freeze, and then they could sled down these, go hurtling down these snow hills. And so this obviously is what Dmitri has at Usovo, and he and Borya, who was, I think, 18 years old, 17 or 18, were out there trying to increase the steepness of it, and that sounds like very strenuous activity. But anyway, it didn't work out for whatever reason. It's really a pity that he's not telling us what he's reading. His father was the same way. In his diaries, I read for an hour today, but he never says what he was reading. Dmitri very often does. It's about 50-50 with him. I think, as I mentioned before, I've read a lot of books. For instance, novels of Anatole France that I don't know if I ever would have picked up or not, but Dmitri, put him on my radar screen, because a lot of times he does say what he's reading, but in this instance, not. So why did this telegram of his create a sensation? He doesn't say anything specific about that. Just my telegram created a big sensation. So was it because of him asking whether the train accident had really happened? Was that why it created a big sensation? Was it a big sensation simply because he'd sent a telegram to her and that wasn't something, I don't think he was particularly fond of her. I don't know. I wish I did. Okay. And who is Irina Dolgorukova? Well, I don't really know, and my Russian colleagues don't really know either, but they think, Natasha and Alexandra, they think that she was possibly, I don't know if they mean probably or just possibly, Princess Irina Vasilievna Dolgorukova. And if there was something between Dmitri and this person whom he refers to as Irina Dolgorukova, then, it would have been it's very credible because that it would be Irina Vasilievna, because Irina Vasilievna was born in 1879. Dmitri was born in 1891. And that puts her right in the age range that he most liked. When he was a young man, he always preferred women between 10 and 20 years older than him. The sweet spot was about 11, 12 years. Missy, as he points out in his diaries, well, she's old enough to be my mother, but that doesn't matter. But he liked older women. He liked sophisticated women. He wasn't interested in young ladies who didn't know their way around, I guess. Maybe. Well, that is sort of conjecture on my part, why he preferred these older women. I think he kind of liked it to be able to combine this idea of a woman being motherly but also being a lover. Yeah, probably from the circumstances of his life and his mother's death. So anyway, she was married, this particular Irina Vasilievna was married 2 times, first to Vorontsov Dashkov, and then she married again in 1914. I don't know if she was a widow or not, but she married again in 1914 to a Prince Dolgoruki. So that's a bit confusing. You have your Dolgorukov family and you have your Dolgoruki family. And in this instance, a Dolgorukov woman has married a Dolgoruki man. And okay, yeah, little confusing, but a Dolgoruk is a long arm. Whether it's with the ov ending or the ki ending, the root of that is a long arm. A person with I don't know if it came from a literal individual who had a really long arm or if it means sort of a far reach. Anyway, I'm babbling. So what is he saying? So he writes her this letter, and I don't know how she'll take it. It's a long letter. It may be too long, he thinks. And I don't know how she'll take it, but let the chips fall where they may. So is it a Dear Jane letter? Maybe not. In addition to liking women who were older than him, Dmitri also liked married women. Again, that element of sophistication and no naivete at all. I don't know. Not even knowing exactly who she was, it's pretty difficult to say what he's talking about. Either he was saying, oh, we've got to ease off on our relationship, or he was saying, I'm madly in love with you. Well, it wouldn't have been that because he wasn't, he didn't say that about anybody but Missy. But anyway, yeah, or anything in between. So, yeah, I leave it to you to interpret that as you will. And for 1915, for next time, what do we have? I forgot to look ahead. So I guess we have a surprise with 1915. Anyway, we managed to get through 2, even though this is a little longer than I like. The video should probably, Yeah, try to get them in at 15 minutes or less, but I rarely do. Anyway, I will see you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye.